Hey guys, what I'm going to show you how to do today is how to make a latex cast of the mold that you've already created. It's a pretty simple process. Shouldn't take long, maybe 15 minutes or so for this video. And here's what we've got. I've got a four-part mold here. As you can see, the mold's got its registration points. That's what these little buttons or whatever you call it. They're registration points. So this is a mold I've used before. It works pretty good. There's a couple little flaws with it, but that should be okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure your mold's clean. You don't want any junk lying around in here. This mold is really tight, and I haven't had any problems with the latex leaking out of it. If you do have some issues with the latex leaking out of it, you can paint the edges of the mold, not where the latex is going to sit and dwell, but you can paint the outside where the mold actually comes together on itself. You can paint that with petroleum jelly of some sort, and that'll keep all your latex inside. It'll keep it from leaking out. It works pretty well. So what happens is, I'm just going to take and I'm going to assemble my mold. This mold happens to be like 4 different pieces. I've got a top, which ends up being the bottom, the two sides, and then the bottom itself, which ends up being the top. I'm just going to go ahead and assemble this like this. Put this together. It should fit nice and tight together. And we're going to strap it together, and you can use mold straps, you can use clamps of some sort, or you can use, what I'm going to use is just some run-of-the-mill tie straps that you get from Lowe's. So once you've got your mold together, you just want to strap it together with some tie straps, or mold straps, or whatever you have. I'm going to put this one, yeah, I've got this one backwards, I'm going to flip it. Quite. I had something backwards, but whatever, it'll be okay. It's still tightening down, slugging it down. Now you got your mold all put together, nice and tight. Nice and tight. So once you've got your mold together, we're going to take our liquid latex here that I've got here. Open this up. And I'm going to just pour it into this hole right here. And I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to fill it up a little ways, and I'm going to kind of rock the mold back and forth, trying to get some latex in all the little nooks and crannies. So I've got about 3/4 of the way full. Put a lid back on this. A little bit. And now I've got some holes drilled into this mold for areas that tend to capture air. And I'll show you what I'll do with those here in just a second. Just kind of rolling it around in there a little bit, kind of coating the inside. It's also kind of helping to get some air bubbles out. You don't want to get it on your clothes because it is impossible to get off. Alright, so we're going to fill it up the rest of the way. I think I've got enough here. Alright, so we filled it up. syringe. Found my syringe. Also, you're going to need just a little bit of clay if you're going to do this method. Some molds aren't going to take, you're not going to need to use a syringe. This, because of the way it is, it's a full hollow cast. I end up using a little bit of clay just to plug these holes when I squirt some latex in there with a syringe. So just a 10cc syringe. And this one's getting a little worn out. I hope my plunger doesn't come off while I'm trying to pull out some latex. I'm just going to stick it in the latex in this bucket. Fill this syringe up. Good old-fashioned liquid latex. I'm wearing a glove on this hand and not this hand. It's got ammonia in it, but I've got stitches on this finger right here, and I don't want to get latex all over the bandage. So then I'll have to change my bandage again today, and it'll be a pain. So in these little holes, I just stick the tip of the syringe in, and I basically just inject latex in there. I'm going to put about 20 cc's up here. And this is part of the chin where it kind of dips down and the whole thing's upside down right now. So this area right here, I'm injecting latex into this. Make sure that I don't have any little hollow spots. Once I've got it in there, I'm just going to take a little piece of clay, a little piece of wet clay, just regular old wet clay, and I'm just going to stick right there on my mold. And that's just to keep air from getting trapped back in there and to keep latex from running out. I got a fly buzzing my ear. Summertime in Florida. Another little hole right here, over in the tail. I just want to make sure. You can see my latex, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but my latex is about to overrun. It's probably all I need for that. So I'm going to leave that kind of stuck in there. Got a hole just big enough right there for the tip of the syringe to slide in, and do that. Stick that there before any latex can run out. Now I've got a little fold here. I'm going to pull some of this latex off, because what we're going to end up doing is I need to tilt this mold around a little bit. Squirt that right back in there. Okay, great. My syringe is getting a little bit old and doesn't really want to work anymore. So, let's stick this back in here. This isn't really a multi-use syringe. You'd probably be better off with like a medicine dropper syringe. Yeah, it's stuck in there now. So, but we're pretty much done with it. I don't really need it for anything else. I'm going to slip my lid back on. Latex isn't terribly expensive, but it's not exactly cheap either. Alright, so now that I've pulled a little bit of this off, I've got a little bit of leeway here. You can see that it's got just below the edge, and I'm going to tilt this side up. I'm just going to start tapping on it a little bit. What I want to do is I want to make sure that any of the little air bubbles in there that got trapped down in latex, latex is thick and it'll trap some air bubbles, even if you do a really good job of spreading it around and filling the whole mold up, it can trap some air bubbles. So I'm just going to kind of tilt. Ow, this really hurts my finger. I'm going to kind of tilt this way. I'm just going to tap it a little bit. Make sure we can try to kind of get those air bubbles, if any are trapped. I don't see any, so we did a pretty good job here. And I'm going to go the other way. You want to make sure that your latex that's sitting in here and moving around, you don't want to tilt it up too far, because if you tilt it up too far and then the latex, A, will spill out, but B, you don't want to let more air slide in there and then trap back up underneath here, and then you'll have a big hole in your, ow, I can't do it with that hand. I guess I can. I'll just do this. Just want to make sure that any air bubbles that got trapped in there are going to come loose. You can shake, do a little shake, shake, shake. Lift it back up. I don't see any big air bubbles. If you got some air bubbles in there, you're going to see it, because the bubble's going to come sliding back up to this point over here and go boop, and you'll see it come out. I've done this a couple of times now with this mold, so I kind of pretty good there. Make sure my clay isn't sliding off of there. And now we let it sit. Probably going to let it sit for about, I'm probably going to let this one sit for about 4 hours. Once it sits for about 4 hours, latex will form a skin from the outside in. So the inside of this is going to still be liquid in 4 hours. That's when I'm going to come out here. I'm going to pour the leftover latex back in here. Just set the mold up on top of this bucket and let it drain back into the bucket for probably, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Get most of your latex that's still liquid out of there, and then we just let it dry. So in about 4 hours, I'll be back. Okay, we're back again, and it's been a lot more than 4 hours. It's been about 6 hours. I had some stuff that I had to go do today, so it had to be put off a little bit. That's just going to mean that my inside is extra thick. You're going to notice inside your mold, I don't know if you can see here, but inside your mold, you're going to see that it's shrunk down, that your latex isn't as full as it was. No, it didn't leak out. It's because that's where the water, the moisture in the latex is evaporating, and it's solidifying, and that's why you don't have as much in there anymore. So, once we've let it sit and dwell, we're going to do this and just pour the excess right on out. Back into your bucket. I'm going to kind of let it drip and drain back out here. And then I'm just going to let it sit there probably 5-10 minutes, kind of let everything, all the excess drain out, and we'll flip it back over. Alright, so we've let this kind of drain out here, so now what we're going to do is going to flip it back over. Looks like I got a little piece of clay inside my latex. Let me... So, now we're just going to kind of let it sit You'll notice there's some stuff sitting on the outside of you'll notice there's some latex on the outside of your mold. It's not a big deal. We're just going to cut that off once this dries and kind of hardens. You can kind of clean this up a little bit if you want, but you don't really need to. You just trim all that off later once this whole thing is nice and dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a fan on top of this, because being such an enclosed mold, it doesn't get a lot of airflow through there. And I found that if I stick a fan up here and on top of this blowing down into it, it works to at least get some air flowing around in there, and it dries faster. That'll probably work. Alright, maybe my fan won't fall off. Alright, so we're back again. I let it dry overnight, just to be safe. I probably could have pulled it last night, but I thought, I'll just wait. And it feels pretty dry. I'm not getting any latex on my hand. So I'm just going to pop our mold here. Caps off. So there we have that. Alright, so as you can see here, got a little bit of stuff up here on the top. What we're going to do is just kind of pull that off and break it loose from the mold. And then this should just pop off here, like that. You can see what we've got inside here. And I think best way would probably be to pop this bottom piece off, which is actually the top. I've got a little flashing around here, but not too bad. And then peel that off. Peel that off. And there you have a latex cast. Now you guys have probably seen this before in my painting latex tutorial. So I made his arms separately in this. It was kind of an experiment. I still haven't decided if I like that better or not. With latex you can take and rubber cement the arms back on. And it holds pretty darn well. Seriously, was. But that's it. That is how to make a latex cast out of your mold. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope this was useful for you.